Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad you came. We've been waiting for you and planning this show for a long time, and I'm very happy. I have two Joneses here. This is Tina Jones-Williams and Venus Jones, and they're going to entertain us with some of the words that they created to bring us entertainment and information. So let me first go to, who wants to go first?
Venus.
Okay, Venus, you've been selected.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
First of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself and, how did you get started in wanting to put your thoughts into words on paper?
Well, to tell you a little bit about myself, I've actually, let's say, trying to get my thoughts on paper really started when I was like a teenager.
A teenager,
so
okay.
I started writing in my journal. I started writing poems, and but really, what really turned me into a poet. I didn't necessarily, think of writing as something I really wanted to do, but it was for healing for me because
it's a way of
when I was 14, someone who was a dear brother to me. I was an adopted child, but he passed away, and his name was Ricky. So. I wrote this book, She Rose, because I was trying to help people. I was trying to prevent unhealthy relationships. So unfortunately, he passed away because he was trying to protect his mom from
she was
domestic
in an
violence
abusive
situation. Yes.
Wow.
So that's really what turned me into a poet, because he was always like, "You should stick up for yourself. You should write." Because he wanted to be a writer. He was like an MC. So.
But the good thing to know about that is that out of tragedy, sometimes can come a whole nother career.
So I feel like sometimes he's one of my muses.
He's channeled you, right?
Yeah. So that's the short story of one of the main reasons why I fell in love with words and began writing. But now I have a master's in English and creative writing, and I'm teaching English at Mission College.
Oh, okay, great.
So I teach other young people how to
bring that
have their voice and to know that they have a voice.
Okay,
so that's
that
part
can
of what
be
I do.
encouraging to people who are trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah.
What is one of the ways they can express themselves? And
so I started off in theater.
Oh, you started off in theater. Okay, good.
Yeah. So really, I was a very shy child, and then I ended up. So I feel like I've had 9 lives, because some people know me as a model, a poet, an author, and I even done a couple of movies. But the point is that I actually love poetry. I think that if someone asked me what I am, I think I would always say.
Because what does it do? What does it bring out your innermost heartfelt kind of way of expressing yourself?
I'm a poet first, because it is. I feel like there's a world in words.
Yes.
Every word can take you somewhere. Depending on how much you truly define and really look at what that word means. And I think Malcolm taught us that, because he studied words when he was in prison. He that's how he learned how to be a better reader, was to just literally look at the definition of words and really go.
And I always think of poets as someone who's willing to share their innermost self. True. They have to be willing, courageous. It takes a lot of courage. It takes vulnerability too, to be able to put on.
I prefer poetry that does speak.
Yeah,
and you can understand. Some poetry you can't understand. They don't want you to access it. So I've learned that through.
Oh, okay. I was talking mostly about when I've seen you perform.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I agree.
Because you're very expressive, and we're going to hear more of that as we go through the show. But for right now.
But if you want me to get into a poem,
not right now. I want to talk more as we get into our interview, and as we express ourselves to our audience. Sure. I definitely want that. Yes.
Okay. So that's
Tina,
your question.
What started you on this journey of 5 books, which we'll get into later? But you just went on a rampage. Like, let me put all these words, and I just love it that. Because I knew you before you were a writer. Now you're
now that you say that, Queen Anne, and I was listening to Venus as well, I think we all have at least 3 acts to our life.
Oh, 3-act life. Yeah,
so,
I like that.
The first 25 years of my life, I was just becoming who I was at that point. A young woman, newly married, just starting a career. And then from about 25 to the time that I retired, which was about 10 years ago, I became during that time, I was a mother, I was a wife, I was a human resource executive, and I also sort of fell in love with words as well, because I realized that people tend to be able to do well or badly based on what they say and how they say it to people. I love
that point.
Yes.
Yes,
It's very true.
It's
because
very true.
In people's careers, one of the things as an HR person, you sort of guide people through the minefield of work, right? So people could come at you with words and say something, and you would take it to heart, and you would want to help them, and you would want them to advance in their career. But somebody else could come to you with those same words, but based on how they said it and how they approached you with it, their career did not matter as much to you.
Exactly.
So that word, so long story short, when I read things or when I talked to people, if the words stayed with me, I would write them down and I'd throw them in. I had a little box that I would throw things in, and so my favorite scripture and my favorite quotes and things that people said to me were in there. So I sat down one day, this was after I retired, and I was going to write to my children just some things that I wanted them to know. So that's where that.
So that's one of my favorite, one of your books. Some things I want you to know, because we all have that. We all
so
have
there's
that.
things that my mother and father said, that my grandmother said, or situations that I found myself in. So the preface of that book is simply this: these are some things that I figured out for myself.
But I also want to add.
But wait, let me finish. These are some things that I figured out for myself, that I said in the preface to my children. Don't let these things replace the things that you're figuring out, but consider them along with those things that you're figuring out. So it was just sort of a shorthand that says, these are things I know for sure. You don't have to waste your time worrying about these things, because they are for sure.
They are for sure.
So build on these things with your own thoughts and your own issues and your own scriptures and your own quotes.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's how some things I want you to know came about. But then, because life being what it is, you sort of catch the bug that says, wait a minute, I have more to say. So that's how I wrote the 3-part Julia Street series.
And when I listen to Venus, she's like actually into it. She's like, you can place yourself there. And I didn't know her before I heard her perform, but I've totally enjoyed listening to her since I've been introduced to you and seen how you do your work and the passion you have behind it. Now for Tina, I've been knowing for several years. The thing I know about Tina is that she's always been the kind of supportive person for the community. Remember, you used to come and gave us a whole way to do job search with the Urban League when I was executive director. Right. It was like out of her time from working at Intel, was it? She used to come over and put our books together and let us know how to interview people and how to pick people for certain jobs. So you had that sort of giving and wanting to give back already. So, and out of that, then the rest of this flowed. So now we get to the juicy part where they each get to express themselves in some of the work that they've done. So, so Venus, I want to go to you. So, and this one I heard you do some of it, recite some of it over at the Heritage House. It was absolutely magnificent. So I'd like for you to just really give us something for the audience to just get a taste of, so they can then go and run to wherever they need to run to purchase the book.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of doing Shiro's, but I'm going to do one that is a dedication. It's more so to single mothers. So I think single mothers.
Okay, single mothers a good one. Yeah, that's always a good one. Mothers need everything they can get, especially single mothers. Yes.
So because some of us were raised by single mothers, and my grandmother raised me, and I just she was a strong woman. And she always taught me a lot. And one of the things that she would say is the first line that I'm sure you've heard, which is, I could do bad by myself, right? So that's how this poem begins. And it's called I Need a Man. I can do bad by myself.
Tina.
I don't need anybody else. I work day and night and day to pay the bills of yesterday, but it's okay and it's all right because you know I can make wrong right without a fight. But understand that I need a complete companion, someone who is down for the grand haul. I'm talking about that person who will pick me up when I fall. What you want isn't what you say. Your actions speak louder than your words on any given day, but you're gonna play me like the fool anyway. When I gave you my love and I gave you my time, but you can't spare a dime. No, it's not your lack of funds, but your dead spirit. That's what has me on the run, and I don't have room for dead weight. Since day one, I set it straight. How come you can't come real, come correct? Is it that you're not ready yet? Now, if you would have told me up front, I would have understood that you were a boy on the threshold of manhood. But now I must question if it was all just for show. That's right. I'm getting out this game. But it's a shame. It's a shame that I no longer feel the same because my baby still cries out your name. I'm a single mother and I'm doing all I can. But I don't need a boy to help me raise a son. I need a man.
That's
Awesome. Beautiful.
That's really beautiful.
Now, is that come from something, or you just looked around and saw the suffering of single moms?
Actually, it was a poem that I wrote for a family member that I was hoping I could help, who was in an unhealthy relationship as well.
Okay.
But sometimes, you know, you write some things for certain people, and it may not heal that specific person, but it has healed other people and helped other people that have told me that it's been helpful
I
for
love
them.
it. Because it does have a huge emotional piece,
Yes.
sound to it.
And
you
again,
know.
because I came from that theater background, I used a persona poem. It may not be about me, but I know how to speak
Right.
Yeah.
from other people's
Right.
perspectives. And I thought,
'Cause
well,
you
this
have
is
that
something that's missing
intuitiveness.
that I haven't seen. And I wanted to use poetry and spoken word art to speak to that.
Great. So, Tina,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you so much. That was great. So this is just the beginning of as many as we can do in the time we have been allotted today. But we're going to hear from Tina in terms of one of hers. I'm going to speak a little bit on this one first because this is one of my favorites. This is because I always say I write down things too that I want my children to know that, you know, my grandmother said that something you always want to pass something on to your children. So I love this one. So you started talking about this one in terms of anything else, anything you want to quote in here?
Well,
or
let's
thing?
see.
Okay.
And
'Cause
what I usually
really
do is
so
just
heartfelt.
open it and say whatever page I
Whatever
land
page,
on.
right.
There you
So
go.
this one is, children are not tiny adults. Hold them close. Keep them comfy and cozy. Watch them in slumber and while awake. Be planful. Guide them with your presence and your example. Be prayerful. Pray for them and with them. Be playful. Have a sense of wonder. Sing to them. Dance with them. Read with them. Walk with them. Sit beside them. Talk with them. Listen to them. Correct them. Compliment them. While you can, select their friends, their surroundings, and their experiences. Share your experiences with them. Study them. Seek to understand them. Ask for God's help in raising them. This is a quote. When there is trouble with your children, remember, the Lord sometimes has trouble with his children too.
Oh,
I love that.
awesome. Oh.
So this book really is just, and I'll just read you the contents because it was just things that I wanted them to know. Things about acceptance, accomplishments, authenticity, beauty, beliefs, big deals, business, children, discipline, faith, fate, flexibility, legacy, lessons, manners, money, must-haves, relationships, service, solitude, transitions, and wealth. So those are the things that I cover in this book, just very quickly for my children and those that I hold dear.
And you know, I think the reason that's one of my favorites is because as mothers, it kind of fits us all.
It does.
You know, it's kind of fit the kind of thing we want our children to. We want to impart those things, and we watch over them.
Yes.
So it kind of fits
Yes.
all mothers.
And teachers, because I don't have any kids. But
Yeah,
I think
but
of
she
my
as a
students.
woman,
Yeah.
I will give you one of these
Yeah.
today, and just periodically just pick it up and read
I
from
It's
it.
really
awesome.
like that last
Read
line.
from
It's funny and true.
yes.
It's
I love
what?
it. It's funny
Yes.
and true.
Yes, yes.
As Queen Anne said, and I like to quote her because she said this, and it was probably 20 years ago. We've known each other a while. She believes that each of us has 10 books in us. And at that time, I, like Venus, never aspired to be a writer. I never wanted to be a writer. I don't even journal. I don't write at all.
Oh.
But what happened was, at about 2012, I was drawn back to Berkeley. I was born and brought up in Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
And then I went away to school in Austin, Texas. And my husband and I married after we graduated and moved and raised our children in San Jose. And I never lived in Berkeley again. But my parents were there. But when they died, I never went back.
Oh.
So about, as I said, 2012, when I wrote Some Things I Want You to Know, I also felt a need to write about a time and place and people that I fell in love with. And that was in my hometown of South Berkeley. And so I wrote Sarah's Song, which is the first in the three-part series. And Sarah's Song covers from 1943, 10 years before I was born, to about 1960 on Julia Street, the street that I was brought home from the hospital to, where my parents lived.
Wow.
And so when I got done with that, I started giving talks and doing a neighborhood walk, which I did one yesterday, of the places in this book that were iconic in South Berkeley in my growing up. But I felt the story wasn't done because there was all those years between 1960 and about 1990 that I wanted to talk about.
Wow.
So then I wrote Dance or Get Out, which is the next installment.
Okay.
So I finished that, and then I felt, well, wait a minute, there's more years after 1990 that I can talk about. So Perfect Pitch really is sort of the bridge between all these two books and where we are today.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I hate to break in,
Sure.
but I just want to know, some of the people that you wrote about in one of those three books,
Yeah.
are they still alive? Have they talked to them?
You know
Do they-
what's really interesting about this? So these books are what's called fictionalized nonfiction. They are based on people and events that actually happened, but embellished to tell a full story.
Oh, okay.
Because
okay.
I didn't want to write the specifics about my parents' marriage in detail, because that's not how people lived their lives in the 40s and 50s and 60s.
Right.
They kept their information close.
Really?
Not
yes.
like now,
Yeah.
where everybody tells everything.
Tells
all
everything.
the
It's
time.
social media is everywhere.
Right, right. So there are people in here that are real people. Ben and Sarah are my father and mother, and also in here the children are my siblings.
Oh,
And then what I
wow.
did in Dance or Get Out, Tanya and Zachary are actually me and my brother Tony, but we lived next door.
You live
So-
next door?
No, we didn't.
Oh,
in
you
real
did.
life,
Okay,
but in
okay.
this book. Exactly, exactly. So again, to tell a story, but to specifically answer your question, there is a person in Perfect Pitch that was a jeweler. And I'm sorry, he actually in real life is a jeweler, but in this book, he runs the cleaners, and he talks about the neighborhood from the 40s to today, which there is
Oh.
a jeweler in my neighborhood who had
What's
a
that?
jewelry shop from the 40s, and he's still in business today. He's
Oh.
105 years old.
105?
105 years old. So
Yeah.
the
Wow.
reality is, it is
Oh.
a true story, but it's
Yes, kind of based on
Exactly.
truth, but it's fictional.
exactly.
Yes.
So that's how these came to be, just to show my love of a time and a place in these
That is
people.
awesome.
Yeah.
But I just admire you for being able to dig that deep and become that vulnerable to people, because other people could say, no, this isn't true, and or say, oh my God, this happened, and you know,
Exactly.
there's a lot, open yourself up to a lot of criticism and all that. You're going to get it anyway, but to be able to know that that's going to happen and say yes anyway to writing it down. So good for you.
Well, I have, well, there were 6 of us, 3 girls and 3 boys, and what's left now is, well, one of my brothers is deceased. But one of them said something about one of the books and said something happened differently, and what I said to them was, when you write your book, you can tell it how you
Like,
want to
tell
tell
it like you want to tell it,
how you
right?
want- Right, right. So
Make up
that
your own
kind of
story.
put that to bed,
Because
you
there's
know.
always your story, their story, and then there's truth.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Whoever's
story,
writing the
her
story,
story,
that's
right.
the
That's
truth,
the
okay?
Right, right. And I start my
Their
neighborhood
perspective
walks.
of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I tell them I'm not a historian.
Yeah.
I have done all this based on anecdotes, my memories, and things that I made up. So,
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, wonderful. I'm glad
I
you
like
did.
that.
I'm glad you took the journey that you took and the legacy that you're leaving, not only for us, but for your family. What a legacy.
And I think the next book might be about this marriage you've been in for 50 years.
Well, not 50 years.
How long? It's almost 50.
We've been a couple for 50
Oh,
years.
let's see. Some
But
common law.
we've
No,
been married. We've been married for 40.
Well, hey,
41,
Tina, if
41.
you've been married for 40, hey,
That's
what's
a
that,
long time.
50?
Some people
It's
wanna
just
know
10 years.
50.
I mean, really.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I
just
will
a
tell you,
decade.
the book I'm writing now is fascinating to me. At writing it, I'm writing about a Pullman porter and his wife, who is a domestic worker.
Okay.
Iconic job. Did you know that those were the jobs that were the bridge from slavery?
Hey,
Those
I got
were the first
from
jobs.
Superman to man.
Those are the
it's,
first jobs.
Yes,
that
and they
people
spoke
had,
many languages, highly
yes.
educated.
If
There
They
was
were
a uniform
Pullmans,
you
yes.
could get in.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the way you got
Exactly.
Exactly.
out. Whether it was the military
I'm gonna
or
quote you.
Oh, well, I just made that up. Go ahead.
I'm gonna use that in my book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Oh my God. So
Yes.
now it's up to Venus. We get to go
Yes,
on.
yes.
Thank you. This is kind of like, now you asked how, I'm concerned. How old are you? No.
Wait,
But she seems ageless, so I can't tell because she looks so young.
I-
But her words are wise. So
Very wise.
I'm a
which
lot
is,
younger than
You're a lot
older
older
in
than you
spirit, but then I also, and it's weird because I feel like I got a young spirit, but I also got an old spirit, which is
well,
weird.
you
Like-
do. You have such a spirit
have-
behind you.
okay,
So I
I
don't
get
know.
that. Yeah.
I wouldn't know
Yeah,
where
I
to
get
place
that.
you in age. I bet
So
it
I
was
guess
it, yes.
but yeah.
That's great though. That's a good issue to have. Okay.
But I haven't been married as long as you, but I have been married 18 years, so that tells
You
you.
been married
That's a long
18?
time. That's a long time.
I won't say how old I am, but
That's a
18
long time.
tells a lot.
It
So
does.
Yeah.
hey, so let's get down to Langston Hughes.
oh right. Now I
know.
I didn't do a poem about my life. In that last one, it was more about observation. But maybe I'll do a poem that kind of tributes Langston, but also speaks to my upbringing. I noticed in the back of your book that you went to Garfield High.
No,
Is that what it said?
Garfield Junior High.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
went to a school called Garfield High.
Well, look at the
Okay,
similarities
okay.
here.
Right, right, right.
And
I mean, really.
That
what
was
is it?
that was in Ohio.
Okay.
Okay, and I was actually I wanted to go to a performing arts school, but I was denied that.
Which would have been in New York? Would that have been?
There was one in my local city that I wanted to go to, but I was in the city that I grew up in. Is called Akron, Ohio, which LeBron,
Akron, I've heard of it.
LeBron put on the map, especially with his promise school.
Uh-huh.
So that's where I grew up, is in that town, that small town. And I used to, when I was growing up in Akron, Ohio, I always said I was from Cleveland because no one knew where Akron was.
Oh, okay.
But
One of those San Jose, LA, San Francisco things.
right.
You either said you're from San Francisco or LA,
Right.
because nobody knew San Jose.
No one knew.
Right.
So like I would always say that, but now I guess no one has to say, the kids there, they can always say, I'm from where the
Exactly.
or I'm from Akron, and everybody knows what it is now. So the point is that that's where I grew up, and I went to a school instead because my grandma, we came from a military family, so it was very strict. And so I had a very strict upbringing. It was church, school, and then again, that was pretty much
Were you
it.
the only child?
I was not. I was
Okay,
not.
okay.
But I went to I spent 3 years. I actually graduated from Canton McKinley, but I spent 3 years in ROTC.
Oh.
And I advanced to senior petty officer, first class.
Wow.
Okay.
But my grandfather served in the Korean War, and
He what?
served in the Korean War, and he
Oh,
got
okay.
a Purple Heart.
Oh.
And so I remember all of those things. So I wrote this poem really in response to a poem that Langston wrote. And this book was endorsed by Langston Hughes' family.
Oh, that's
So yeah, that was
fabulous.
really an honor.
Yeah.
And they called me Langston Hughes in the form of a black girl, which was,
Wow.
I was excited, but then I was scared at the same time. Like, that's
Right.
a lot of pressure. Right?
Right.
But this poem is, they knew that I studied his work, and this piece is actually an echo of I Too Sing America by Langston.
Okay.
But I just was thinking about my grandfather, and just this poem is what came out. I too sing a new song. And this is before all the drama around the Star Spangled Banner when I wrote this. But I used to cry at night at the mere sight of red, white, and blue, standing at attention with my hand over my heart, tears before the second note of the anthem could begin. That, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early part? Can't recite the Constitution, but I'm ready to fight. I'm a senior petty officer, proud and pecking. I had a strong grip on Old Glory in the color guard. My flag was full of any confidence that I was lacking. In uniform, I heard my freedom flip and flap, eyes forward, with only white stars in sight. I was really patriotic, chanting, "We are number one." But the wind blew my pole too far right. My grandfather was a staff sergeant in the Army. He earned a Purple Heart getting shot twice. But dressed as a civilian, he wasn't respected. Mother said he found work, they sufficed. Told me he tossed and turned when he slept, and he'd wake up screaming at times. He served his country for 5 years and never complained. I just pretended to serve mine. ROTC is where I learned to say, yes, sir. A habit I've never outgrown. Garfield High was no Korea, but to some kids, it was a war zone. Wearing the wrong colors might mean you get lost. We had to pick sides or a group. I chose the one with the shiniest buckles and the cleanest suits. But today, I've made peace with the poor. I'm a world citizen, I claim. My country may go to war for oil, but it won't go in my name. Now I'll pledge allegiance to a merciful God first, one that teaches us to protect the earth to which we all belong. This allows me the sovereignty to create a new nation, and if need be, a new song.
That's beautiful.
Ooh, that was
Very
moving.
nice.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Lyrics for Langston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's let people know how to purchase the books. I'm sure the audience wants to know now, where are they, how much, not how much they are, but how can they get them?
Well, I have to say that I'm probably more proud of the fact that my books are in the Berkeley Public Library.
They're in the library?
And the Livermore Public Library. Berkeley for
Oh,
where they're set,
for
and
the-
Livermore for where I live.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have no idea how they found them. I have no idea. someone must have recommended them to
And
them,
therefore-
and they picked
That's
them
great.
up.
That's
So-
that's even better.
well, and and both libraries have had me come and do programs. As a matter of fact, the Livermore Library asked me to please do their Black History program.
Oh,
next
wonderful,
week in
Tina.
February.
That's great.
Oh.
So the books have been embraced by the South Berkeley Legacy Project as well as the Berkeley Historical Society.
See, that's when you know it was something that needed to be said, it needed to be born, it needed to be created just for this.
And I think
Yeah.
a time and place.
Yes.
If they came at
Yeah.
the right time and they're set in the right place.
Exactly.
So the other
Exactly.
thing, for those that would like to buy them, they're available on Amazon as well. And you just look under Tina Jones Williams and they'll pop up.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So very easy.
And the other Jones that we have here, Venus Jones. I must say the thing about Venus Jones that she has a website that does the whole Christmas program.
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa that
Yes,
you
I
can
have an app.
learn
Yeah.
what it's all about. There's a day-to-day
Oh, yeah.
piece
I have
about
a-
it. So
I
that's
have
such a
a-
contribution. So thank you.
I forgot. I do
Yeah.
need to mention that I have a mobile app, and I'm hoping to release soon a companion book that goes with it for
Okay.
those who are still getting used to what is Kwanzaa, and so it helps them understand it's a way of life for some of us, and it's something. It's just to live on principle. Because I remember someone asking me,
Exactly.
What do you stand for? What principles do you live? And I was like, I don't know, right? But then when I learned more about the principles of Kwanzaa, I felt how universal they were. And again, my name is Venus, so in a way I strive to be universal. And the point is that a lot of my work, I wanted to speak to the heart, and I wanted to speak to the human experience, because Maya Angelou quoted Terrence at one time, and she says, anything that is human is not alien to me.
Exactly.
Because I am human.
Exactly.
And you
Right? And
are,
so many
yes,
people
yes.
try to take my race and try to make us subhuman. But we experience all things. So some of my poems talk about trees. I don't always talk about political things, but I do have a whole CD that's called Politics, but I spell it POLLYTICKS.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And that came out, I believe, in 2007. But I have 4 spoken word CDs. And Kwanzaa is one of them. Kwanzaa, 7 Days, 7 Principles.
Yeah.
Poems and affirmations, because I know you like affirmations.
Yeah, very much
Poems
so.
and affirmations for everyday living. And you can find my work at venusjones.com. You can also find it at Amazon.
Amazon.
And but if you go to venusjones.com, I can send you an autographed copy. But
So you know what else? I would like to let people know that they want either one of you to perform, then they just need to, what's the best way to get in touch with you? To call you or text you or email you, or they got all this social media stuff. I don't know, which would you prefer?
oh yeah,
Anyway, I get messages through Messenger on Facebook. I have a Facebook authors page.
It's just your name?
Tina Jones Williams. I also have an authors page on Amazon. You can leave messages there. And of course, just email is wtina791@gmail.com. Okay. But I did want to say it's really interesting, Queen Anne, that you brought us together.
I know, perfect.
But let me say,
Okay.
her name is Venus. And my given name is Celestine, which means heavenly.
look at that.
So, I mean, it's just the whole...
That's the way God works with me.
Exactly.
I think so.
Exactly.
I've
Yeah.
never done a
Divine
show.
connection.
I don't do a lot of planning, but when it comes to me, whatever happens is the best that could happen.
Yes.
It just,
And you never
Yeah.
even knew my given name, did you?
no,
As
never,
Celestine? Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
But I knew you would be perfect with her. That's what I did know.
Yes.
That because of your personalities, it would work great.
Well, I'm so glad we came together.
This was
and
the two.
my middle name is not really Love, but I try to represent
Venus Love
Celestine
Jones.
way.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can find me
yeah.
at Venus Love Jones on social media.
Love
So,
Jones.
yeah.
Well, you take
Like
that
the
several
movie,
ways.
kinda,
Love
yeah, like the
Jones,
movie too.
loves Jones.
Right, right.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
there's some folks who gotta love Jones. And I don't mind.
That's right.
So I want to thank you, both of you, very much. It's an honor for me to have you on the show.
Thank
It's
you,
really
Maureen.
good. So I'm
We
so
really
happy.
love you, and we
Thank you,
appreciate
thank
the
you.
legacy and that you
Yeah,
brought to the
yeah.
community, and it's just an honor. It's an
That's
honor.
good. This is going to be a good one. So Okay, so thank you very much. My name is Queenie Ann Cannon. You've been watching Peninsula View, and today's topic has been the author's choice. Okay.